So, welcome to the show, guys. Hey there, business owners, directors, and marketeers. In today's show, I'm talking with Ben Swartz from Marcel Digital. I'm Lucas, your host as always, and I want to tell you a little bit about Ben and Marcel Digital before we jump into the questions. Ben is a seasoned digital marketing professional and an entrepreneur who launched Marcel Digital back in 2003. And it's a custom website development firm that offers full services around the digital marketing landscape from Chicago. And before launching Marcel Digital, Ben was working at AOL Time Warner. And actually, it's funny enough, a client of him demanded to know why he should spend his budget back then in AOL Banner rather than, jumping into AdWords. And this is how Marcel Digital was born at the first place. So they're focusing on middle market firms, a variety of verticals such as B2B, education, healthcare, insurance, finance, e-commerce, and more. But Ben will be able to tell us all about it. So Ben, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Very cool. So tell us about Marcel Digital. What is it all about?
Sure. Marcel Digital. So as you mentioned, we've been in this business for almost 17 years now, website development and digital marketing services, fully integrated under one roof here in Chicago. Google Analytics, certified partner, Google Premier partner. We actually even employ a Moz Oracle on staff, the #1 endorsed Moz Oracle on the planet, which is sort of incredible. But I think what really drives us is our ability to get work done, our project management capabilities, which we find is becoming increasingly important in this day and age.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So how would you describe the people or types of businesses that would benefit most from your services? Who would you usually work with?
Sure. Great question. So we tend to find ourselves working with small marketing teams. We find that they have 10,000 different tasks in front of them, and they couldn't possibly know paid search marketing and conversion rate optimization and Google Analytics to the degree that an agency can bring. And we're able to plug in with them specifically because we have such tight project management control. So they can set us off on a mission for a month, and they can observe the work that we're completing through our transparent project management workflow software, so that they know that the extension of their team, Marcel, is getting the work done that they said that it would get done.
Yep, very, very good. Is there typical time frames that you're working with those teams together, or does it really vary from project to project?
Yeah, we're typically in ongoing work. So it's month to month. Our average client is with us for somewhere around 6-7 years. We'll be updating those numbers, obviously, at the end of this fiscal year. So we're super proud of that. We tend to be sticky, and I think we're sticky because we get work done.
Yep, very cool. I'm always very curious to ask, especially people and folks from, marketing agencies, how do your clients usually find your business? Like, what's sort of, if I flip tables, what would be the journey of a typical client of Marcel until they, start working with you?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're blessed with being in this business for so long. We get a lot of referrals. Most of our business comes from word of mouth, thankfully. But ultimately, as marketers, we believe in the media mix. Simply because we're referred doesn't mean they're not going to come visit our website, visit our competitor's website, engage, ask questions, and sort of find out for themselves if we truly are thought leaders as we claim to be.
Yeah, makes sense. You mentioned the website there. Can you tell me a little bit about the role of the website for Marcel and the agency? Is it a key part to the mix, or is it more sort of, a side informational hub? How should we imagine that?
Yeah, it's key. So we believe that no one is going to make a significant marketing decision without visiting the website and understanding the brand and understanding the people that they would be engaged with for a year or 6-7 years or more. And so we know that they're visiting our site. We know that they're researching who we are and what we're about. And finding out what they do on the website is key, right? What is their experience when they're on the website? Now, like a lot of agencies, we suffer from the cobbler son has no shoes. So we're constantly looking to update our own website, which we're in the middle of right now.
Yeah.
But even now, we have the analytics in place to understand what their experience is on the website and understand what content they're engaging with and why, so we can get into their minds a little bit better.
Makes a lot of sense. So I'm not sure if you're working on that level with this, but I'm curious, is there certain types of metrics for the website that you would really care about and that you would steer the business alongside? Because, there's tons of metrics, but what would be the ones that you tend to really put an eye on?
Yeah, what's most interesting to me is when folks are spending time reading our content. Mm-hmm. And so specifically our blog posts. Our blog posts are typically very short. It might be because I'm not particularly patient and I'm not going to read a 5-page white paper. I'm just not. I'd like to think I will, but I won't. Mm-hmm. But I will read 500, 750 words on a topic to try to get my own juices flowing and understand what's happening. And I'm curious if people come to the content and they read, do they read the whole? If they won't read 500 words, then if they're looking for pricing versus thought leadership, they might not be exactly who we're looking for, right? We might not be able to actually form the partnership that we're looking to establish.
Got you. Any other metrics? So you're looking at sort of time people spend on the articles I'm hearing out from this. Any other metrics that you would think are key for you?
Sure. I also like when the number of pages viewed on the website. It's just an indication. I can my own experience researching in my own personal life. If I'm clicking around a website, I'm getting deeper into who the folks are. If they're visiting or about us, or maybe even awards pages or case studies, then I know that they're engaged. I know that they're thinking a little bit more deeply. So number of page views, these are some of the softer KPIs, of course. Ultimately, as a business owner, I want them to engage. I want them to provide content. I want them to provide their contact information, and then I want to, be able to start an offline dialogue.
Yep, makes total sense. Very interesting. What we had a lot of conversion rate optimization folks on the shows, and I'm always curious to know, especially you working with a bunch of clients already, what challenges would you typically see that your companies or your clients face when trying to convert more visitors from your website? Is there typical, maybe a war story you have, or typical things that you've seen?
Sure. Well, the hardest thing for us is and has always been is that in our own minds, before we look at the data, we become sure about the eventual outcome of a test. Mm-hmm. We just know it in our hearts that the test is going to show a clear winner. We're going to be making changes to the website, and it just seems that the most typical outcome is that what we least expect becomes the truth. Yeah. And it's just fascinating. So, but in order for you to have that, you have to have established trust with the clients to go on this journey. Right. And so we try to engage them with this truth that as much as we all believe going into a test that it's going to prove to be successful, because of course we need to limit the number of form fills. Of course we need to add more trust seals. Of course we need to limit navigation. It does not work that way. The power of the web is the fact that there's billions and billions of people searching, and they get to do whatever they want to do. And it's not our job to try to corral billions of people. It's our job to understand what they want, regardless of why they want it, and then deliver it to them.
Really, really good. Yeah, this is an amazing point. I just had this conversation with our team here today. That's always the least expected one, the most surprising one. That is then actually turning out to be the truth. Very, very interesting. What have you seen, the businesses that you're working with? What's the role of the conversion rate for them? Is that a term that they use? Is that something you educate them about? Because we've been experiencing in interviews very, different levels of active engagement with conversion rate optimization as such.
Yeah. So is the question is that the terminology that they'd like to focus on? Is the rate of conversion?
Yeah. Is there a lot of education that you will have to do? Do they come already in by asking that? What's your typical scenario around?
Yeah. Yeah, great, great. Yeah, we get this a lot. So, well, it's funny. The terminology in the digital world has always been a challenge. Too many acronyms. People, I think, intuitively understand conversion rate optimization without a whole lot of training.
Yep.
But where we do need to define terms is what is a conversion? What are our goals? So in the e-commerce world, it's typically quite straightforward, revenue. But in the B2B, B2C lead generation world, engagement is just such an interesting question. So we spend quite a bit of time early on defining what a conversion is. And we end up breaking things into macro and micro conversions. And for the first year or so, we'll want to look at it through that lens only, as much as possible, because once it's not until you see some volume of results that we can really hone in on what should be the macro conversion for a particular client. And not because it's elusive, it's because they don't know until they actually see it.
Yep, makes total sense. Very, very interesting. Any challenges that you've been facing to get, clients to really actually focus on that, or is that sort of something that, once you show them the concept, once you show them the first results, they are very happy to go deeper in?
It's patience. It's always a patience game. And I understand it. I'm the least patient person I know. I laugh to myself. Anytime someone says, Ben, thank you so much for your patience, I laugh because I have zero patience. I'm faking it. And I know that the clients feel the same way, right? They have people that they need to answer to. They need results, and I get it. The issue is that we do need to wait for statistically relevant results to come in to make good decisions. But that really comes down to a good partnership, and we're super lucky. Typically, we're not engaging in conversion rate optimization alone. We've already established ourselves through search engine optimization, or perhaps we've built your website and we've built some trust. So what we're saying isn't slick agency talk. It's, hopefully they understand by that point that we're trying to be the truth and trying to deliver the best results we can get for them.
That makes a lot of sense. Very, very interesting. Maybe last question, while we're in the conversion rate space and then moving on to the next topic. The last question I would have then there, is there certain industries, certain verticals that you've been seen becoming more aware on those, idea of conversion rate optimization, and trying to get more outside of the website? Obviously, there's the typical ones. There's the e-commerce, there's the travel companies, but have you seen other industries picking up?
Yes, yeah, for sure. So healthcare in particular. I think that the patient or prospective patient experience is really becoming top of mind for a lot of marketing teams across the country. So they understand that while ultimately they're trying to get more prospective patients to consider them for their needs, and they want people to come to their website and they want them to come into their facilities. They also understand that when someone is maybe at the symptomatic or informational part of their journey, that counts as well, and that when they're in a susceptible emotional place while they're researching, and to find a way to engage with them at a higher level while they're at that stage is really important and fits well within their models. So that's an emerging area, and we love working with those folks. They do such amazing work. Their passion is incredible. They always have two things in mind. They always have the business in mind. They always have what's best for the world in mind, or for their patients in mind, and that speaks to us at Marcel quite a bit. We love working with those folks.
Very cool. That sounds like a really good combination there. I wanna switch gears a little bit and talk maybe a little about you as a business owner. I would be curious if you would sort of reflect a little bit on the last couple of years. What has been most helpful for you to build up the company? What has been sort of one or two key drivers that you feel really helped you to build up the business?
Sure. That's a great question. So ultimately we're a team of people. And you win with people, and we all know that. Ultimately, it comes down to the individuals. What I think, though, that has been which isn't quite as sexy, but I think has really made all the difference in the world, is our internal capabilities to track things like utilization and capacity planning, and understanding where we're going. It's a benefit to our clients because when they call us and they want to get started, say, on a website development project, instead of saying, we'll start right away, but then there's inevitable delays, we're able to bring a lot of transparency up front, and we can plan for what's coming. And while it might mean that we have to inform them it'll be 3 or 4 months perhaps to finish the project, what typically does not happen is that it ends up being 6, 7, 8 months where everyone's pulling out their hair. We can bring transparency up front, and I think that really is a much better relationship with a client. It may be a harder conversation because the client might want to hear 1 to 2 months, but I think it ultimately really creates some trust, which we care a lot about.
Very cool. And if you would sort of zoom back, when you started Marcel, 2003, I think we said it was, and sort of you stepping out the door at AOL Warner and starting that journey, what would be one advice that you would give yourself?
Yeah, I wish I could have enjoyed the ride more early on. I was stressed, right? Just didn't know what was coming next. I have felt a lot of this was actually pre-wife, pre-family. So I should have probably had no reason to not enjoy it, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed. And I had very distinct vision of what success meant back then. And it was all about making money. And that was just my mindset almost 17 years ago. I'd like to, if I was to go back to talk to that guy, and I would say, try to enjoy it a little bit and realize there's a lot more interesting things happening than just making money right now.
Very cool, Ben. That was very, very inspirational, and I hope everybody listening, starting off or being in the rut of building up their business, that they can take this to heart and enjoying the journey while they're building it up. So, Ben, we're already coming to an end of today's interview. It's been super, super interesting to learn a little bit about Marcel, to learn a bit about how you think about conversion rate optimization and what challenges you've seen with the clients that you're working with. You pointed out a new, growing market that is really pushing for conversion rates with the healthcare market. Very interesting. And then shared a bit of an interesting insight into what has helped you to build a business, as well as that you should have maybe enjoyed the journey a little bit more when you just have started. So Ben, thanks a lot for taking the time today for this interview.
Sure. Thank you, Lucas. Great talking to you.